Here comes the, here comes the, here comes the. Y'all don't really want it like that. Yeah. Here comes the, no. Here comes the.
While the New England Patriots have done an admirable job vastly improving their team in free agency by spending big bucks on a number of splashy signings, winning free agency doesn't always translate to victories in the NFL. Just ask the 2011 Philadelphia Eagles dream team, who splurged in free agency only to disappoint their fans by missing the playoffs after consecutive winning seasons. To win free agency, you attack needs, don't overspend on guys, bring back your own free agents on team-friendly deals, and find cheap but quality free agents that replace the departed ones. While the Seattle Seahawks haven't exactly made the splashiest of signings, I think up to date, the Seahawks have won the 2021 offseason, not to mention the re-signing of a top 10 running back in all of football to a below-market deal in Chris Carson. That's right, today, folks, we're going to dive into Chris Carson re-signing, how the Seattle Seahawks are winning the 2021 free agency. But first, if you ain't already, please be sure to hit that subscribe button, man. If you want to join the family, if you want to join Team Steezy, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Share this video with friends, family, your mom, your dog, anybody you know. Hit that like button and comment if you enjoyed. And for more SteezyBandz content, just because we don't post on YouTube every single day, you can find us on all social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok. On Instagram, we actually just hit 1K. TikTok, we're still fairly new to. But if you guys can help us run it up on all social media platforms, and if you want to keep up to date with everything Steezy A. Smith, be sure to get at us on there, at Steezy A. Smith, if you don't already know. You're tuned into the Steezy A. Smith Show, and let's get to cooking. First and foremost, as I alluded to in the title, Seattle Seahawks have brought back baby beast mode. Yes, that's right, Chris Carson. The man has done nothing but simply be a top 10 running back in all the NFL. And since 2017, since his arrival in the NFL, the Seattle Seahawks are 31-10 with him in the lineup. Now, without him in the lineup, they're 10-11, below 500. And the Seahawks have definitely felt his absence in the last couple of seasons. We all remember the 2019 season in which he was lost in Week 16 and he wasn't there for their playoff run. Imagine if they would have had Chris Carson against the Packers in the 2019 NFC divisional round in Green Bay. I truly believe that Seattle could have beaten Green Bay if they had a ground game whatsoever, not a beast mode who was past his prime, who provided a spark and energy into the locker room and into the team's ground game, but he wasn't Chris Carson at that point. There's a reason why Chris Carson is baby beast mode. He brings the physicality and he brings that tough, bruising running style that Pete Carroll and the Seattle Seahawks love. Essentially, he signed a 3-year, $24.6 million deal with the final year being voidable, so it actually ends up being a 2-year, $14.6 million deal. His cap hit for this season is only $2.5 million. He's guaranteed $5.5 million this year, and next season his cap hit is going to be at its most with just barely over $6 million. Now, to be the 13th highest paid running back in terms of average annual value for a top 10 running back is an absolute steal. Many people, including me, believe that Chris Carson was a goner entering the season, as I thought that Seattle had no business paying the man over $8 million on an average annual basis, and that's not a knock on Chris Carson. As I said, he's a top 10 running back, and I believe he has all the tools to be a potential elite running back in this league. Obviously, he's had issues with staying healthy, and he's yet to play a full 16-game season in his career, but in 2 of his 4 seasons in Seattle, he has 2 seasons with over 1,100 rushing yards. Last season, he had the best season of his career via the pass. He caught 4 receiving touchdowns. He had a career high in yards per carry at 4.8, but yet again, he struggled with injuries, and he was inconsistent from time to time because Seattle just didn't give him the football enough. It also helps that Russell Wilson, who many speculated wanted out of Seattle, wanted Chris Carson back, and there you go. Seattle Seahawks have re-signed a top 10 running back and are paying him like he isn't a top 10 running back, so that was an absolute steal for one of the very best in the business in Chris Carson. Expect him to have a career year next season if he could just stay healthy, but on the surface, this is a great re-signing by the Seattle Seahawks. And now that need at running back is no longer there, so they could look to sign other guys and address other needs. Moving on to another position on the offense, tight end Gerald Everett, who's following now Seahawks offensive coordinator Shane Waldron in Seattle. 1-year, $7 million deal with up to $6 million guaranteed. He is super athletic. His production has gone up in each of the last 4 seasons. He had the best season of his career last year, and that's very telling. While he only put up just about 400 yards, believe it or not, that would have led our tight end group in receiving yards last season, as Will Dissly led us with 251 yards. Gerald Everett is a very athletic specimen, uber athletic. He's still yet to reach his full potential. He's only 26 years old, and back in 2017, the Rams drafted him in the 2nd round. So he has a lot of potential, and being that he already knows the system in Seattle with Shane Waldron being the offensive coordinator, the transitions to be seamless. And I think all in all, that actually gives Seattle a very competent tight end group as opposed to what transpired last season from the tight ends. I understand Greg Olsen suffered through injuries. Will Dissly wasn't himself. Jacob Hollister was as rock solid as usual, but Gerald Everett brings another dimension to this Seattle offense. Being as athletic as he is and being as versatile as he is, he's a very solid blocker. He could play the wide receiver 3 spot for us. You could put him in the slot. You could put him all over the formation, and he can help the rest of the tight ends learn the playbook that Shane Waldron is hoping to install. But that's another great weapon for Seattle. I believe that he hasn't even hit his peak. He isn't even in his prime yet, and he's a player that is ascending. And so to get him for under $7 million with $6 million guaranteed was an absolute steal. That was an area of need. Tight end, wide receiver 3, and he put both of those needs. I forgot to mention this earlier, but another reason why I truly believe that Seattle is winning free agency is not just because they're making signings and addressing needs, but also because they're appealing to Russell Wilson. Recently, Russell Wilson has tweeted out, "Go Hawks." Recently, Russell Wilson tweeted out his approval of the Chris Carson re-signing. And so, as long as Seattle is making Russell Wilson happy, then they're winning free agency, because Russell Wilson is one of the best quarterbacks in all the NFL. And to keep him happy means that Seattle always has a puncher's chance in regards to winning the Super Bowl. Speaking of Russell Wilson and being hit too much, Seattle, while he didn't exactly come in as a free agent, Seattle acquired one of the best guards in all the NFL in Gabe Jackson from the Las Vegas Raiders for the measly cost of a 5th-round pick. Yes, you look at his contract, he has another 2 years and about $19 million left on his contract, but as I said, he's one of the best guards in all the NFL, and according to Pro Football Focus, he had the best season of his career last year. But just as recently as 2017, he signed a 5-year, $66 million contract extension, which shows just how valuable and how great of a guard that he is. The last couple of seasons, the Las Vegas Raiders have had some of the best offensive lines in all of football, and Gabe Jackson has played a huge role in that. He's a better pass protector than he is a run blocker, and if I'm not mistaken, Russell Wilson actually liked to tweet on Twitter regarding the Gabe Jackson acquisition in Seattle. And so Gabe Jackson, he's going to be highly motivated playing in Seattle. He could play either left guard or the right guard positions. He began his career in Vegas playing left guard. And so if for whatever reason Damian Lewis is to be moved to left guard, Gabe Jackson could play at right guard, or he could slot back in at left guard where he started his career in Vegas. But everyone in Seattle should be super excited about the addition and the acquisition of Gabe Jackson, as Seattle just wasn't going to get a player of his caliber in the 5th round. No way. And so for Seattle to address the need in left guard with Mikey Potty retiring, not only did they address the need, but they brought in a top 10 player at his position. Now, moving on to the defensive side of the football. I understand. We lost Shaquille Griffin, who at best was an above average cornerback during his time in Seattle, but albeit a very inconsistent one. And seeing as how Jacksonville gave him a 3-year, up to $44 million contract, there was just no way Seattle was going to pony up the cash necessary to keep him in town. Best of luck to Shaquille Griffin, but his replacement in former San Francisco 49ers cornerback Aquila Weatherspoon isn't too much of a downgrade. Now, I know not too many people are very fond of Pro Football Focus, but the facts are the facts. According to Pro Football Focus, Aquila Weatherspoon was the 6th best cornerback in all the NFL last year in terms of his Pro Football Focus rating at over 80.6, I think, to be exact. And while he can be inconsistent, just like Gerald Everett, he's only 26 years old. He's 6'3", 195 pounds. And coming over from the San Francisco 49ers defensive scheme, he shouldn't have any time at all. He shouldn't have a hard time at all adjusting to the defensive scheme in Seattle. While the nuances might be a little bit different, he knows the scheme. He fits what Seattle likes in their cornerbacks. He has very long arms. He's super athletic. And as I mentioned earlier, he can be inconsistent, but to bring in a starting caliber cornerback for 1 year and $4 million is an absolute steal. Like I said, he isn't that much of a downgrade from Shaquille Griffin. And I know a lot of people out there might not know who Aquila Weatherspoon is, but now that we have 2 ex-San Francisco 49ers cornerbacks in our secondary, I believe that he'll have a tremendous impact as long as he could get right with some of those inconsistencies. He does struggle a bit, and he has a tendency to kind of get lost in coverage from time to time, but I truly believe that he has yet to see the best years of his career. He's still ascending, and he hasn't even hit his prime yet. So Seattle got an absolute steal, 1 year, $4 million for a starting caliber cornerback in Aquila Weatherspoon. He just needs to be more consistent, but being that he's a defensive back guru, Pete Carroll should be able to get the best out of him, and I expect a whole lot of greatness, or I expect a whole lot of great things from Aquila Weatherspoon heading into next season. Other re-signings in Seattle include Pro Bowl fullback Nick Bellore and starting center Ethan Posick on a 1 year, $3 million deal. Yes, he didn't have the best season of his career last year, but keep in mind that was his first season playing center in the NFL. And so for Ethan Posick to come back on a 1 year, $3 million deal to be our starting center isn't bad at all. But that doesn't mean that Seattle should stop there. They could also look to the draft, or they could sign another veteran free agent center to bring in as competition for Ethan Posick if Russell Wilson isn't content with Ethan Posick. But because he did re-sign, we do have an option at center, or the Seahawks do have an option at center, and so the cupboard isn't fully bare at that position. With all the moves that Seattle has made up to date, cap space is quickly dwindling, and Seattle went from having a top 12 number in terms of cap space in the NFL heading into free agency at $20 million. They now have just under $5 million, and so for Seattle to create more cap space and to attack other needs, hopefully Russell Wilson will restructure his contract. Maybe Bobby Wagner. Maybe they extend Tyler Lockett. Maybe they extend Dwayne Brown. Maybe they extend or trade Jaron Reed, extend Jamal Adams. All those, doing any of those things could create as much as $44 million in cap space. And yes, while you're kicking the can down the road, the Seahawks are in win now mode because Russell Wilson isn't very content with not winning Super Bowls and not making Super Bowls. And so Seattle has to do everything in their power to create even more cap space because there are still a couple of needs that have to be filled. That includes edge rusher. That includes, like I said, when I mentioned Ethan Posick, another center as competition. They still need another wide receiver 3 after the departures of David Moore and Philip Dorsett. Freddie Swain, yes, he could step into that role. Gerald Everett, yes, he could also step into that role. But maybe a guy like Golden Tate could do the job. Other edge rushers besides Carlos Dunlap also include Jadeveon Clowney. And there are quite a familiar faces out there. Bruce Irvin and Benson Mayo have yet to re-sign, but hopefully Seattle can create the cap space necessary to fill out the remaining needs, seeing as how they only have 3 draft picks in the upcoming draft. Yes, a couple of years ago when they traded Frank Clark, they only had 4 picks prior to his trade, and after his trade, they were able to build upon the 4 draft picks that they started with and ended up with much more than 4. And so I don't believe that Seattle will only end up picking 3 times in the draft this coming draft season. But with all that being said, let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Who do you think has won free agency so far this offseason? Is it the Patriots? Is it the Seahawks? Is it the Giants? Or is it another team? Be sure to let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. If you haven't already, please be sure to follow us on all social media platforms at Steezy A Smith, SteezySmith, Instagram, TikTok. If you aren't already, like I said earlier in the beginning of the video, if you want to join the family, if you want to join Steezy Nation, be sure to hit that subscribe button, share this video with your friends, your family. And while that concludes this video, you don't have to stop watching Steezy A Smith content here. Be sure to check out our channel homepage for the rest of our collabs and guest appearances. I have a whole bunch of those on the way. For exclusive Team Steezy merch, be sure to hit that description down below. Be sure to send us a DM on all social media platforms if you have any video ideas, if you want to just send us a compliment, send us a comment, anything really. Nothing but love. Hope y'all enjoy. And Steezy out.